and welcome back to Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the sound bites. I'm your host for today, Ben Kinsley, and joining me, we have a special guest as part of our 2020 candidate series. We have Marc Parish, who is running in Windham County. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. So first off, we always ask all of our guests to give a little bit of an introduction about themselves, who they are, what their background is, what brought them to Vermont. If you weren't here, if you weren't born here, so go ahead and give us tell us a little bit about you.
That's great. My name is Marc Parish. I am running for the Windham County Senate seat, and my wife is originally from Bells Falls. Her family grew up here all their life. So I came up snowboarding from Florida.
Perfect.
Yeah. And we ended up moving, getting together, moving to Florida for a while, and then moving back up this way. So I always wanted to run for something, a state office or something like that, just to help out the community. So when I was able to run here, I thought, man, what the best way to do it? You know, Windham County is a decent size, but it's not real big. It's not like you're running for the state. So you can start out small, and that's what I want to do. I want to start out small before I went bigger. I've never done it before, so it's a learning process, you know, for me. Yeah. But I want to be able to give the voice of the people back to the people instead of letting the government tell the people what they're doing, because it's getting old now. So that's why I decided to run for Senate.
Gotcha. Awesome. And what are your key priorities, like two or three things that you really want to either influence or work on or change?
So I have two of them that I'm really strong on. The first one is for senior citizens that's been retired. I don't think they should end up paying property taxes. They've paid enough in property taxes their entire life working, owning that house. So I think if you're retired for 30 years, your income is at a low base income, and that is your primary residence. I don't think you should pay taxes. That money can go towards them, their medication, upkeep on the house, upkeep on their vehicles. So that's why I pushed for that one. And then with the economy, with the mom and pop businesses, the ones that are making money is the corporate businesses, Walmart, Target, stuff like that. So we need to concentrate. Walmart has a lot of little mom and pop businesses that strive with the community. So if we can somehow give them a tax break and make them grow bigger, you know, we're losing them left and right. And I'm sure with the COVID, how many of these mom and pop offices or business aren't going to reopen, you know?
Yep, that's a good point. So that would basically take income sensitivity down to zero for persons over I don't know, say X age, or are only getting income from Social Security, or and that's actually not a bad option, is to just exclude Social Security from income sensitivity property taxes.
I agree 100% on that. You know, it's I watched what really got me into that part is I watched my wife's father end up retiring. So the stuff that he went through, because you can't, with the Medicaid, no, you got to buy certain ones. You can't just get like Medicaid A or B. You got to take the C or D.
Right.
And when you're paying $400 a month on a retirement, and you're only bringing in, say, $1,800 a month, and you're paying $400 out just in that. That doesn't include if you've got repairs, your clothing, just anything. It adds up. So
yeah,
I think it's great.
Yeah, it would help folks be able to afford their homes after retirement a little better.
Right, because how many you see these people that once they retire, they end up going to nursing. Well, I had to sell my house because I couldn't afford it. You know, well, it'd be great for them to be able to live in that house that they raise their kids, you know, until something happens. Then if something happens and the house is transferred or sold, then it's reassessed back to the town and all, and the new owners would end up paying the new assessment fees on it.
Totally.
Yeah, so the town will end up making more money in the long run with it because we all know that the taxes go up on houses. They're not going to go down. So if we can do it that way, and then, like I said, after it's sold or the taxes are going to go up anyways.
Right.
We just know the state and the towns do that.
Totally. Yeah. Which makes sense. And then the second thing you said that was kind of a priority for you
is the economy with the mom and pop shops. There's so many that's closing down. When the COVID hit, who's the one that it affected? It affected the farms, the mom and pop shops. It didn't affect Walmart. In fact, Walmart stock went up, because everybody was hurrying up and buying pop because they had to close down. So I think if we give them a tax break, this will help them so they don't go into bankrupt. We need to save them. I don't think there should be a state tax in Vermont. Most of the people that shop, they're going over to New Hampshire anyways. And so that's revenue that's lost for the state itself, not just Windham County or Windsor County, but for the state itself. If it's cheaper for you to go buy milk over at Walmart, for $2.59 or $2.49 compared to over here,
Yeah. Yeah, and down in your area, you've got like Keene is right there, right across the river, and there's another town I can't remember.
Yeah, we've got Claremont, which has the Walmart, and then Keene with the Walmart. So it's still New Hampshire's making the money off of the Vermont residents.
Yeah, and is there a Walmart in Brattleboro or no?
Hinsdale, I think it is.
Hinsdale. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Another New Hampshire.
Another New Hampshire one. Yeah. They're all on the New Hampshire side. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think there was some analysis that showed small mom and pop businesses definitely got hit harder by the pandemic than larger corporate businesses did. And it's difficult. Even with tax breaks, a lot of these businesses can't maintain cash flow. The state was trying to get creative to divert some of the federal dollars and try to make sure most of it went to small businesses. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen how successful they were.
Right.
But it's interesting because everyone has to start getting creative. It's like doing stuff that you don't normally do. Some of the distilleries, for example, swapped for making, or whatnot, and started making hand sanitizer instead because that's what there's demand for right now.
But you got to do what you can just to make your business survive in a time like this. And it's sad that whoever thought America would get like this, nobody did.
Yeah, no one saw that coming, I don't think.
No, I don't either. I think, most Americans think we're untouchable. It can't happen here because we don't ever see it. It's never happened to us. Now that we saw it, everybody's thinking in a different mind now, what do we do? How do we correct this? How do we make it so it doesn't happen to us again? And if it does, how can we control this better? Vermont is pretty good at controlling it. Our death rate is pretty low. Yep. So, Vermont did a really awesome job at it.
Yeah, and it's Vermont has done a great job responding to it, and it's we're starting to see businesses reopen because of it, because the response was as good as it was. We're not out of the woods yet, I think, and it's still, but it is interesting because very few people alive have seen a pandemic, at least in America, right? It's the last one that hit. And it was over 100 years ago. So, no one really has ever seen this before. And that's probably why we didn't think it was going to happen. So,
and the technology we have nowadays, we got the pharmaceuticals. There's no reason we can't control this even better than, we should have brought this. This should have been so small that, it shouldn't have affected anybody.
Right.
We have the technology. We have the drugs to fix this, And the other thing I think is healthcare, like for children, like people going back to work. I see a lot of help wanted now. So it's time to start moving forward, putting people back to work. So you say, well, I've got children. What do I do with them? A thing I came up with that I think would really be really good is more boys and girls clubs.
Hmm.
The reason for that is being you're going to employ some young adults anyways. It'll give them a safe place to go. It'll give them food. It'll give them education because they'll be learning. They go hiking, they go fishing. So you're still doing stuff with those kids. They're in a safe place, so you don't have to worry about anything happening to your kids. If you know, I think that's pretty good. And then don't make it so much as it's $100 a kid a week. Do it based off of your income. If you're not making all but $20,000 a year, 25,000 a year, why should you pay what somebody else is paying that's making 40,000 a year? For the same exact stuff. They're going to treat your kid just as well as they treat my kid. So, you know, that'll help them recover also.
Totally.
Granted, the $600, the people that got it was great. Did they save some of it? Who knows?
Yeah,
Should
who
they have?
knows?
They should have, but things happen and you can't save sometimes. And we've all worked paycheck to paycheck before and we've struggled and we've all pinched pennies. So, somebody says, well, I don't know why or why they didn't save money and all. Maybe there was a reason behind it. Who knows,
Right.
But let's move forward from here on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the it's going to be interesting to see how, people's attitudes change or their behaviors change, as we kind of work through this, because the most of those checks went out in what, April, May, somewhere in that time frame.
Right.
And I think probably where people are today is a little different than where they were in April or May. Some people may be back to work now, or some people may be out of work who were in work in April and May.
Right.
Who knows? And so it's interesting. It's interesting to kind of think about that a little bit.
It's a scary thought if you think about it. Could you imagine we had what, over 2 million people out of work or something like that? That's a lot of people for the United States. That's that had to close doors, and then you get into with this rioting that's burnt down small mom and pop shops like in Portland and all. It doesn't. Who says it can't come here? We say Vermont, is such a great state, which it is, but it could happen here.
Yeah.
People say it can't, but that's probably the same thing the people in Portland said it can't happen there. And look,
yeah, well, so we said about a pandemic, right? Can't happen here.
Right. We were wrong.
We were wrong about that. So speaking of the pandemic, and we touched on this briefly a few minutes ago, but so because of the pandemic, we've been told the fiscal 2021 will get through okay as a state. We've been able to use reserves to help cover some of the deficit for fiscal year 21. It's fiscal year 22 that really is going to be a problem because we've already spent down our reserves. We're not sure that revenues are going to bounce back up by the time we get there. Do you have any thoughts about how we should tackle that issue?
Not really. I think more if, we start helping each other out. I think if the small businesses start to open and people start to get back into employment, I think we'll have the money for it. I don't think we're going to struggle for Vermont. Vermont is pretty strong. And like what happened with the Irene, came together, we worked through it. And I think we can do the same with this one too, honestly.
Yeah, I think one of the most encouraging, well, there's two encouraging things, I guess. The governor continues to open up, various businesses. Like 2 weeks ago, it was allowing restaurants and lodging to go to 100% capacity, which is a big deal in a state that's tourism based, and we were heading into our busiest season of the year. So, that's important. But we've also seen real estate demand
skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I tell people now, if you want to buy now is the best time to buy. What is it, like 2.35% interest you're paying?
Yeah, low interest rates, and and property values are going up like crazy right now.
Right, it's crazy, and I'm glad. It's a good thing. But and then we got a lot of out-of-staters coming here buying houses too.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of always been Vermont shtick, though, right? Is get all the New Yorkers and the people from Massachusetts and the people from Montreal. They all come here and spend money.
That's it.
That's how our economy works.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah.
With all the ski resorts and what they didn't do very good this year or last year, right?
Yeah, I mean because they all shut down early. I think most of them made their revenue for the year, but they weren't like at least they met payroll, but they weren't making a whole lot of money beyond that.
Right.
And who knows this year what's going to happen? So it's kind of an open question, I guess. But I guess I'm a little optimistic there because what else are people going to do? All the movie theaters are closed. You can't go to a museum, so what are you going to do in the winter? You're going to go outdoors, and that seems like a safer activity than going bowling or something.
Right. I know. I looked at going to a concert. Now they're doing it in cars.
Yeah.
What kind of concert's that? Where you got to sit in your car.
Yeah, it's like that doesn't seem as fun.
No.
But drive-through movie theaters or drive-ins are coming back.
Yes.
That's kind of cool. But
yeah, I think it is. I do. The more that we can do as a community and for the kids, the better off we are.
Yep.
It'll help out in the long run. So come 2021, there's money. 2022, there's money, and so forth. We're not struggling again.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So there's a whole list of topics that I've got here. We won't cover all of them. We'll just maybe cover a couple of them. So you're in Windham County. Act 46 obviously impacted communities all across the state. Windham and Bennington share the only district that's trying to unwind an Act 46 merger. Have you followed that at all, or is that something that you're
for the Global Act?
No, for the forced school district mergers.
It's how do you say it's good or bad? You might have one school that's failing more than another. So wouldn't it be smarter to put these kids in a school that their academy is a lot higher than one that's not? Give them the education they need. We need history. We need home ec, shop class. Bring those things all in and give them what they need to make something. College is expensive. I didn't go to college. I couldn't afford it, so I didn't go. But there's community colleges that you can get grants. I have two daughters in college. One is in Delaware and one is right here. And they're going to community colleges to get their nursing license and all. So it's pretty cool that you can do something like that and not go into debt so bad.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Vermont might even be able to improve upon is that community college network. As robust as the Community College of Vermont network is, it's also one of the most expensive community college systems in the country. So we can even make it, it's high quality, but there may be ways to make it cheaper as well.
Right. And how do you do that, though? That's the question, because you got to remember that you got to pay a professor, you got to pay for lights, you got to pay for a dean. There's just so many in it. And where does this money come from? We can't give everything free to people, Right. You can't have free everything. Somewhere we've got to take money from, and nobody wants it to come out of their pocket.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to figure out where you're going to get it from. And some of them, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a janitor, whatever it is. All of them are needed. Everybody needs something, But where do we get the money to pay for this stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes we have to get creative and do things. There's there's a good example because we had this guy on our show. Central Vermont Medical Center was doing a pilot program where they needed more nurses, but they also needed more technicians And so what they did is they developed their own internal training program to take folks that were in the community, wanted to go to community college, get them trained as technicians, and then take their existing technicians and train them as nurses because they already had some experience in the field. So they had this whole and allow them to work while they were doing it.
See, that's great.
So it ended up being a great thing because the folks could work while they were in school, and they set it up so that they could do that. And the hospital paid for part of the tuition, and it worked out well for everyone. So things like that where you can partner with businesses around like specific programs can create some cool opportunities.
That's awesome. To see that a company can do something like that, because that helps out both of them. Even if you sign a 4-year contract with them, you're getting your college pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So you might as well take it and run.
Yeah, it's like the same thing that the Army does, ROTC. So
right.
It's a very similar concept.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned Global Warming Solutions Act. That kind of sort of goes hand in hand with the TCI or the carbon tax. What are your thoughts on that? Is it good idea, bad idea? Rethink it. Like, what's the?
Well, it doesn't tell you. Like, I read the whole thing. In fact, I sat with some conservatives and we read through it and all and tried to figure out exactly, but it doesn't say exactly what they want to take or do. It just mentions that you're able to sue the state for it. What we need to figure out is, do you want to pay for a 26 panel person to sit there and write up some laws for you that you can't have a snowmobile or you can't have a 4-wheeler? I don't want to. And it's going to come out of the taxpayers' money anyways,
Yeah, I think a lot of people have raised concerns that this is an unelected state board that's basically writing laws, and that seems problematic.
I agree. I don't think the Constitution says that we can create these little groups to create a law for the citizens. And I don't even think it's inside the Vermont Constitution itself either.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bad choice. Maybe if it was rewritten differently and they had a better sense of what they want to do. I don't know about you, but are you going to be able to go out and if you got to get a new furnace, are you going to be able to do that as the next person? No. And then what is it they want to, if they decide, Vermont is big on snowmobiling, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, they're big on it. So why would you take something away that you can make money off of? They charge you to use the trails. You got to get a permit to use the trails. So right there, you're making money off of it. Same with the 4-wheelers, and let alone cars. I don't know anybody that can just run out and get an EV car, something that's electric. I can't do it, and I'm sure you don't want to run out and have to buy one and have a payment on it.
Right.
So I think we got to figure out a different way of doing this so that, and if it does work, just figure out a different way, because not everybody can afford to run out and change out their furnace or, a lot of people here burn with wood. So why would they want to run out and get something different when that's what they've used?
Yeah, I think it's just the open-endedness of it, right? Is what's scary, because it could literally be anything, and there's no accountability because it's this separate board. I mean, at least if they had it, so that you had to go through the legislature, then you could hold the legislature accountable for whatever they did, right?
And why aren't the people voting on this? This is something that the Vermonters should have to vote on, not our government. It's going to affect the people of Vermont, not the government. They've got the money. If they want to go and put something new in their house, build a new house, they can afford it. People like you and I, we can't just run out and do that stuff. So, I think more should be going through the people of Vermont instead. Let them, we elected them. We pay them their salaries. Every week we're paying them. And I think it's overpriced, and I just think that the voice should be back with the people and let them vote on the stuff.
Totally. Yeah. Vermont doesn't have a public referendum system, but that could be interesting.
Yeah.
That could be interesting for sure. Awesome. Any other issues that are important to you? You want to touch on? We've got a few minutes left here.
Maybe the rioting. If it were to
Rioting,
come
yep.
towards us, let's start. They should be accountable for their actions. I think you're breaking in, you're stealing stuff from a company. These are little mom and pop shops. They put everything they can into these shops. So when you're doing it, you're not just taking from the mom and pop shop. You're taking from your community, because that shop's not going to reopen. Why should they reopen on it if you're looting it and rioting it? You know,
Yep.
I wouldn't open up. I would close it down also and not open. I mean, we haven't really seen that here in Vermont, and hopefully we don't. I think the people of Vermont, they had the protests up in Burlington and Montpelier, but I think they've got more of a head on their shoulder. They don't want to burn down their communities. They just want action done.
Yeah.
The cops and shooting blacks and all, the numbers are so low. There should be none of that anyways. I agree. You don't because I sold something, you're not going to shoot me for it. But there's got to be somewhere that in defunding the police. I will not defund any police in Windham County. I will push that they keep funding. In fact, give them more funding for education purposes. I was talking to somebody in Saxons River on the fire department there. They need money for their fire department. So, this is where some of the money should be going, is helping them out. Because in the long run, who's going to be there for us? The fire department, if your house is burning down, you got somebody robbing your house, the police department's going to be there. So, I mean, that's what we should put the money into, our children,
Yeah, I think part of the thought there is, we diverting some of those funds. If you think about police as your emergency response for,
Right.
public safety, same way that fire department is your first responders for, your house is on fire. There's, we seem to lack, we seem to be lacking that preventative step.
Right.
The preventative. It's almost like if you're in healthcare, right, and you're going to the ER. That's the most expensive care you can get, is going to is walking into the emergency room or taking an ambulance ride to the emergency room. But you want to try to do everything you can to prevent that from happening in the first place. So maybe, like you actually talked about at the beginning of the show, the Boys and Girls Clubs, like, giving kids constructive things to do that avoid, going down a path where they may have interactions with the police and which could be negative, just depending on what the situation is.
Right. And there's so many different ways, you just got to sit back and think of the pros and the cons of everything, because not everything's going to be, I was talking to a resident here in Bells Falls, and I said, not everything I do is going to please everybody. You're going to have the backlash. You're going to have the people that hate you, no matter how hard you try.
Yep.
It's still going to come back on you. And I want to be able, if I'm elected, I want to go to every town in Windham County, and I literally talk to the people. Let them tell me what they see, what they want, because that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that elected you. They're the ones that are paying you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're just about out of time, but before we wrap up here, I just want to give you the opportunity to give your 30-second elevator pitch on why you think you're the best candidate for the position for Windham County Senate, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, I appreciate it, Ben. So I think that giving the people back their voice of Vermont, so that they have a voice to say what they want. It's been so long since the people had a voice that they don't know where they could go to, who they can talk to. We vote everybody in, from our governor to our town, so it's time that the people are able to tell the town or the governor, whoever it is, what they think, and have a voice in the matter, have a vote in the matter. I always tell everybody, even if you're not voting for me this year, get out and vote. If you need a ride and you're close to me, I'll give you a ride to go vote. That's the way it should be. These people
Absolutely.
need to get out and vote. This is the time. This is your voice to go out and vote and tell people what you want. So I think it's great. So
Awesome.
like on the last one, I was able to take a couple people up to the voting polls and let them vote and all. They were handicapped, so they can't walk up there to vote. So, does it make me feel good? Yes, I was able to help somebody go vote. I was able to help somebody just period. So it's great.
Awesome. Well, that's a great story or a great note to end on there. So
Man.
thank you so much, Marc, for joining the show. And thank you guys for listening. And, until next time, keep listening beyond the sound bites.
I appreciate it, Ben. You enjoy. Have a great day.
All right. You too.